All right, what's good, guys? Welcome back to another video, and I kind of want to just come on here and talk about something that's been kind of on my mind lately, and something I've been trying to figure out for the past 2 years since I've started trading, and it's literally just how to get a better state of mind when it comes to trading. And if you're a trader, you kind of know that it's not all just like charts, setups, and money in general. It's more of a mental battle every single day that when you come into the charts. So it's like I like to tell this to people a lot. It's trading is 10% of knowing of how to actually trade, and then 90% of psychology and mental state when you're actually trading inside and outside of the charts. And what I've realized the past 2 years, it's like the the most amount of advice that I've gotten to trading and to making money when it comes to entrepreneurship. It doesn't even have to be with trading. It doesn't come from finance books, listening to David Goggins or all these like mentors, whatever. It literally comes straight from scripture. It comes straight from the Holy Bible. I know I don't want to come on here and try to push religion, but I just wanted to come on here and tell you what I've realized within these past 2 years of me trading, because it's like whether you believe in God or not, these principles you can attach it to your life, and you know try to implement it within your life, and become a better person, become a better trader. So today I kind of want to just talk about a couple biblical principles that I see a lot in this book, which is mostly about trust, patience, and self control. So, and that's honestly what really transformed me from being unprofitable to making a good living from trading. So that's the way, like, it completely changed me. So going from the start of this is going to be trust. So if you've ever traded for more than 5 minutes, you kind of already know that you are not in control of your entire outcome. Okay, so you can do all the analysis that you want. You can mark up a bunch of things on the charts. Wait for a setup, and then all of a sudden it doesn't go in your in direction. Okay, so obviously, let's just say if you want to go bullish, all of a sudden it just goes down and goes bearish, and market reverses, and you're basically left wondering what just happened. So obviously this book doesn't talk about anything specific when it comes to trading, but it just talks about principles that we can introduce within our daily lives and into our business, into trading, whatever it is. So the first Bible verse that I want to tell you guys is going to be Proverbs 3:5-6. So trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understandings, but in all ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. So let's kind of like reapply this into trading. So obviously, lean not on your own understandings. So how to benefit from basically just waiting, okay, being more patient and just trusting within your setup. Okay, so, and obviously it's submitting. Okay, sometimes submitting means literally just sitting on your hands, letting the trade play out, whether it goes in your direction or not. It means that you're trusting within your edge and within your strategy, and you're not chasing every single little fair value gap that you see. And then the last thing within that little Bible verse, he will make your path straight. So when you follow your system, your values, your rules, your risk management, your path just becomes clear. You see everything so much more clear. When you dial down all the things that you need to know when it comes to entering or exiting a trade, everything just becomes so much more clear. If you know your setup, if you know all of your rules, it just becomes so much more clear. You're not going to be wondering, oh, is this trade going to play out? Is it going to fail? Am I going to blow my account? Whatever it is, you just have to trust in your trading path. And it's not even, it doesn't even have to be from trading. It's for entrepreneurship. It's This book is so powerful. Like, you just have to read it a couple times. Go through it. um your trust comes from back testing. It comes from your edge. And if you're a believer, you trust that God is in control of your entire outcome. He's the author of your story. Okay, it's not the charts, it's not your business, not all that kind of stuff. So another thing I wanted to talk about is going to be patience. So um and this one sometimes is kind of hard for a lot of people, because when it comes to trading, a lot of people see the money, they see the fancy lifestyle that all these people are living, and they want to do the same. So they try to hurry the process up of actually trading and learning how to trade and all that kind of stuff. um and you might go days without a clean setup, and you're just going to be like, oh, like, this little fair value gap looks good, it's not against my rules, but I'm going to take it because I haven't seen my good setup pop up. But that's what impatience does to you, because it's like if you're not patient within yourself, you're basically just going to try to rush something. All right. So there have been weeks, there has been a whole week, like in February, I didn't see my setup because I didn't take a trade. The entire week I didn't take a trade. And a lot of people that were taking trades within my Discord, a lot of them took losses because of the fact that they just weren't patient. They just don't see their setups. So they try to find other ways to fill that desire, that need that they're looking for. You know what I mean? So obviously that need is going to be the winning trade, and that impatience turns into bad trades. Over trading, you get FOMO, you get doubt, and all that kind of stuff. So in scripture, it says in Galatians 6:9, let us grow weary in doing good, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up. So due season. So what does that mean? So um, because trading isn't literally about just like instant rewards that, like, your first month of learning how to trade, you're not gonna make any money. If anything, you're gonna lose a bunch of money. It's about consistently coming into the day every single day, wondering, trying, practicing, learning, writing down data, all that kind of stuff, um, and just like long-term discipline. So this is kind of how it applies. It's like, if you're doing good, so like with this scripture, it says, doing good, basically just following your rules, journaling, risk management, basically what we just talked about. Grow weary, it's basically mental fatigue, that there's that, like, nothing's working in certain moments. Okay, like for example, in February, it was probably one of my worst months that I've ever had. Okay, and I started growing weary. Like, I was like really thinking to myself, like, oh, like, what am I doing wrong? um and I just wasn't seeing my setup. So I was like thinking to myself, I was getting that like mental fatigue almost. I was kind of beating myself about it. And then the market will literally just test your ability to wait. So it goes back to the whole patience thing. It's like, if you're not patient enough, it's going to test your ability, to wait, and to try to see if you're actually willing to wait for your setup. Because if not, you're just going to end up losing money or just taking really bad trades. But those who wait are going to win. The way you spell patience, not actually, but patience pays. That's what I like to tell people. It's literally like you say it. Patience, patience, it pays. Okay? It takes some time to learn. It's not, think about it like this. Doctor, it takes him about 10 years of schooling before he can actually make a single dollar out of it. So think about it in that way. It's like trading is a little bit of a more shorter time thing, because you can learn how to trade within maybe 1 or 2 years. You can start making a decent income from trading within 1 or 2 years. But it's like, if you don't have that patience to wait 1 or 2 years, what are you going to have patience for, um if you're working a job for the rest of your life? It's either like you sacrifice 2 to 3 years of your life trying to put aside to trading, to reading scripture, learning, and just becoming a better person, or you waste your time right now and you don't stay patient. You try to make all these moves, and all of a sudden you end up nowhere. And then you're basically working for someone for the rest of your life until you retire, and then you get all these benefits. But you might have some money when you're older, but the thing is, you're already old, so you won't be able to experience and live those things. So that's why I like to tell people, just stay patient with what you're doing right now. If you take a loss, you're not a bad trader. All right. If you have a bad day, if you have a bad week, if you have a bad month, that doesn't mean you're a bad trader. All you're doing is basically you're just learning. Okay. One of the greatest traders in the world, his name is Tom Howgard, wrote a book called The Biggest Loser Wins. What it literally is in the title of the work of the book. The biggest loser wins. The more you lose, the more data you collect, the more you understand the markets, the more you understand how you're going to get faked out, where your stop loss is, whatever, all that kind of stuff, the better you're going to be as a trader and as a person. Okay. So another thing I wanted to talk about is also self-control. Okay. And self-control is a lot harder, I feel like, for some people. I've never really had this problem, but I feel like with self-control, it's a little bit harder for people, because it kind of the market really exposes who you really are as a person outside of the charts. So like, if you don't have if a undisciplined life, if you don't have a life where your room's clean, you have take care of all your bills, you work out, you eat clean, and all that kind of stuff, it shows up on the charts. Because it's like, if you have a cluttered room, like, if you see my room's pretty clean. If you have a cluttered room, you have like shit everywhere, you dust everywhere, whatever it is, your mind is going to be the exact same thing. It's the small things that matter. A lot of people, when they wake up, they don't make their bed, or they on the weekends they don't clean their room or whatever. But the small things that you don't have, it adds up into outside or to internal things, such as like business, or like if you play sports. It just shows you that you're not disciplined enough for it. Okay, so an undisciplined life, it literally shows onto the charts. Okay, so if you're struggling with like anger, with fear, or with greed, it's going to show up on the charts. If you're getting angry at that you just took a loss, it's going to show up on the trade. If you get angry with, let's just say, with school, okay, you get a bad, this is just an example, this is, you get a bad grade in school, all right, you get mad at your teacher, um but and then it just applies to the charts. Like, this is like, you get mad at your teacher because he gave you a bad grade. No, it's you. You're the student. You're the one who's supposed to be learning, and you're the one who's taking the test. Okay, so you have to think of it that way. You're the one that's pushing the buttons on your computer, clicking buy or sell. It's not your teacher. It's not the charts. It's you. You're the one that lost money. Okay, so in Second Timothy, chapter 1, verse 7, it says, "For God has not given us a spirit for fear, but for power, love, and self-control." Okay, and this one is a pretty strong one. So we didn't get a spirit for fear. Okay, so the fear of missing out, a fear of a loss, a fearing of not getting enough money. Okay, all those things go back to the same thing as being undisciplined. Okay, if you don't have that self-control, you're gonna be fearful within trades. Okay, so why would you get fearful in a trade? Okay, the biggest reason is that your setup is not correct. Okay, and if you're getting fearful getting into a trade, or if you're in a trade, that just means that you did something wrong and your setup's not there. Okay, now power, it's simple. We have the power to do anything in the world. This house, I'm sitting in this house, a person made this. Okay, buildings in the city, someone built that. We have the power to do whatever we want. It's just like, you just have to think about it. We are so limited by like statistics, by government, by school. They don't teach you the things that you can do in your life. There's so many things you could do within your life that just are not appreciated enough. Like, people think that you got to have a lot of money to travel the world, and like, the people who are down, maybe like middle class or lower class, they hate the upper class, and people who have money, is because they don't have it. All right, but the people who are in the lower class, and they appreciate the people who are in the higher class, who have money, who drive nice cars, they travel the world, whatever. They appreciate that because they know they worked really hard for it, and it gives them that drive for that, and it gives them that power to be like, hey, like, I could do exactly what they're doing. What really motivated me when I first started trading is I looked at like my mentor. Okay, he's the exact same age as I am. He just moved to Miami and he just bought a Corvette. He's the exact same age as I am. There's no difference from me versus him. He came from a lower standpoint in life. All he did is just work harder, and he put his head down. Okay, and that just shows me how much power people have. It's like, he came from a small hometown in New Jersey. Okay, middle of buttfuck nowhere in New Jersey. It just shows you how much power people have. Okay, um, love. It's not loving. You don't love yourself enough to protect your capital. So like, for example, this kind of goes back to the self-discipline thing and self-control. It's like, if you go out and eat McDonald's, or you eat some unhealthy foods, um, it just shows that you don't love your body enough. Why would you cheat on your own body? If you want to stay healthy, if you want to live long, if you want to feel good, you want to look good, why would you put such shit foods inside of you? You don't love yourself enough to be able to be like, hey, like, this food is not good for me, so I'm gonna try to stick to something else. All right, your friends are going out, they're drinking. You're gonna tell yourself, hey, I'm not gonna drink today because I love myself enough, and I don't want to hurt my body. I don't want to get hungover. I don't want to feel like shit the next morning. You love yourself enough to know that, like, hey, I I'm gonna self-control myself. I'm gonna choose the better side of everything else. I'm not gonna do the same things that all my friends are doing. I'm not gonna do the same thing that society is doing. Okay. The reason why I started trading is because I love my life and I love myself, and I want to be able to have a better future for myself. Okay, and you should do the same. Obviously, if you're watching this video, you are into business, or you're just getting into business, or um, into trading or whatnot. You have to love yourself enough to be like, hey, like if I watch this movie, or if I just go to sleep early, I don't feel like learning something today, or if I don't feel like trading, I don't feel like back testing, you don't love yourself enough because you're not pushing your body, your mental to be like, hey, in a couple of years, this is all going to be worth it. All these late nights, all these hours that I'm putting in, it's all going to be worth it. Okay. And another thing is basically self-control, not revenge trading, not forcing setups, not blowing accounts, or based off of emotion. Okay. It's all the same things that we were just talking about. That's why I really love this book, because there's just so much that goes from scripture into our real life. Okay, there's so much you could go through. There's how many pages is there? I couldn't even tell you how many pages there are. 546 pages in this little book, right? And all these pages right here. And there's so much wisdoms. There's so much things that we could just relate to in our own lives. And it doesn't just have to be with trading. It doesn't have to be with business. It's just real life. If you're an athlete, if you work a 9 to 5 job, or whatever it could be, if you're an artist, if you're a musician, whatever it is, it's all these things within this Bible goes into our daily lives. So I really recommend you guys take some time. You don't even have to buy one. You could just go online, look up bible.com, and you could look up things like online. You could look up, give me some verses for self-control, or for patience, or for doubt, or whatever. There's just so many things that just relates to our real lives. Is that just like crazy? Because this book was written over 2,000 years, over 1,000 years ago. Actually, probably way more than that, because the first part of the Bible was written like 3,000 years ago. Who knows how long ago, right? Way before our time, way before anyone was alive. Okay, so it's not that I'm saying that the Bible tells you, where to buy, where to sell. It doesn't talk about fair value gaps. It doesn't talk about liquidity sweeps. But what I'm trying to say is, trading is a very mental thing that this book can help you figure out, and figure out your own ways. It exposes your weakness. It tests your character, and it demands faith. If you don't have faith within yourself, how are you going to trust yourself that you're getting into a trade? And it goes the same thing as trusting in God and having faith within Him. Because if you say like, "Oh God, like God, how am I? Like I don't trust myself within this trade," you have to trust Him. You'd be like, "I don't trust myself, God, but I trust in You, that I know Your outcome is always going to be good for me." And listen, God doesn't make mistakes. All right, that's one thing I'll say. God doesn't make mistakes. So anything that happens within your life, count it as a blessing. Because have you ever heard that phrase, a blessing in disguise? That's all it is. It's just everything that happens to you in life, whether it's good, whether it's even bad. Take it as a blessing, and you could use it as a lesson, because maybe in the future you could be like, "Hey, I see this exact same setup that I took 3 years, or like 3 days ago. It didn't look good, but I still took it, and I took a loss." You could be like, "Hey, I'm not gonna take it," or you're gonna take it the opposite way. Whatever it is, you could really use that to your advantage. You know what I mean? So have faith in yourself, have faith in God, put trust in Him, and I really do recommend you guys getting or reading the book. But that's all I really have for you guys today. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Peace out, boys.